Relationships. This is a loaded topic.
Valerie's not in a good mood for this morning.
That would be true.
We'll tell you right up front.
And I am by no means an expert. This has been an eye-opening topic to research, and it has been, I think, when we discuss what we're going to talk about in our lives, we plan out about 2-3 months ahead. And so, it's going to be February. That's a wonderful time. Valentine's Day. Let's talk about relationships. Sounds like a wonderful idea. When it came down to actually starting to write it about a month ago, I'm like, what am I thinking? What was I thinking writing about relationships? And then as I started to study it out and think about it, I realized that I may not know a ton about relationships, but I knew a lot about essential oils. And so then I started breaking relationships down into categories, maybe disharmony or stress, maybe rebuilding relationships, maybe fears of intimacy, even maybe aphrodisiacs, parent-child relationships. I started breaking it down into sections and then finding oils that I would use in each of those situations. And it has been an interesting walk. So we're going to have a really good time. We are going to do another live in 2 weeks, and that live will be on Candida, I should say. Candida is the oil for that. So, and my mom's been writing that one, and I'm excited about it.
It's actually done. I mean, I'm amazed.
So if you're just joining us, please go ahead and share this. We are excited today to be talking about relationships and essential oils, and we are also going to cover a little bit about some blessed waters called Bach Flowers and flower essences that are absolutely wonderful tools for relationships.
Right. Am I supposed to say something here?
I don't know. Let's just pause so you can.
According to her notes, we're starting with parent-child relationships. I don't know if I want to touch that with a 10-foot pole or not.
See, and there's a difference between a parent-child relationship with maybe a baby, a mom bonding with a newborn, and a mom bonding with teenagers. And I definitely don't even touch the teenager thing, but we're going to cover it a little.
I liked my teenagers, even when I was standing in the driveway yelling. Anyway, let's start with the easy stuff. Let's start with babies.
I just had a baby. She's almost 8 months old. Wow.
Can't believe it.
Fast. And she did a little bit of cradle cap, and she did a lot of diaper rash. She still does. She doesn't seem to like new foods very well at all. Every time we introduce anything new, she does diaper rash. And Baby Me is my #1 oil for diaper rash. But the emotional side of Baby Me is that it helps with feelings of connection. It's willingness to give and take in a relationship. And it's really good one for bonding between mother and baby. So it's been awesome. It smells great too. So that's been our go-to oil for both her cradle cap and her diaper rash. And it's been a wonderful bonding oil. I love that one.
As a first-time mother, my first birth experience was horrendous. I mean, it was just nasty. I'm not even going to go into it. And as people would tell me as I got into the herbal world after that, they would say how important those first few moments of a baby's life were, and it would make me cranky because I was pretty sure my son hadn't enjoyed it much more than I had. And I was kind of resistant to the idea that how a baby is born and those first few things make a difference. But that experience drove me to a midwife and later to midwife myself. And I learned a lot about a baby's connection to mother right off. I have one little grandbaby that was born some issues during the birth, and she kind of got hung on her mother's leg as we dealt with things. And she was mad at grandma for days. It took days to reconnect with that baby because she had not been. The cord wasn't long enough to lay her on her mother's chest or, any of those bonding things. And Baby Me is an amazing oil for even with an older child to establish that bonding between mother, father. I love the dads at birth. I love them right up there, curled up with mom and baby on their chest. Yep. It's a great thing. So Baby Me, an amazing oil for relationships.
Now, as far as teenagers go, I don't want to touch that one. It's way more broad.
She has a lot of them at the moment.
I do have a lot of them at the moment. We're going to leave it at that. Okay.
They're delightful at grandma's house.
I love my teenagers more some days than others. But the problem with teenagers and essential oils is that there's not a one fix all like there is with Baby Me. You got to look at the deeper issues. Is it a communication issue? Is it an anger issue? Is it a forgiveness issue? And so there are so many oils.
Do they not like them and they're taking it out on you?
Is it a self-confidence thing? What is the root? What's really going on? And so all of the oils that we're going to talk about for communication and for all the different things, they could work with this teenager or that teenager. Teenagers they're not like brand new babies. They're not don't fit into a mold. And so if you are
Their moods
watching
change
this
from day to day.
if you're watching this live to help with relationships with their teenagers, listen throughout the things and instead of just being like, oh, there's not one oil, because there's just not. But with babies, there is. The next one we want to talk about a little bit is reconciliation. And this one is one that could definitely fit teenagers more than any particular oil. I would say that they're, most
Teenagers
times,
and young adults.
Yes.
The focus of one of the oils in reconciliation is the mood of remembering, the desire to remember. And I love this oil, but I have to give you a little bit of a caution here, okay? And it applies to all oils, not just reconciliation. The reason oils work so amazingly is because people who use them are trying to heal.
Yes.
So if your focus of remembering is on remembering the negative to prove your point that you were right and someone else was wrong, you may find reconciliation is a bit of a kick in the butt. It will help you do that. And so it's the focus of I'm doing this oil to improve the relationship. And if that means owning my own stuff, I'm willing to do that.
Yep.
If you do that, reconciliation is an amazing oil. And grace is the follow-up oil behind reconciliation. It contains an oil called osmanthus. And the focus of osmanthus is just to help open you to communication with other people.
Yep. Reconciliation helps you find perspective. And it is understanding and compassion too. So reconciliation is a great oil, but it's not one to send to your child who hasn't been speaking to you for 2 years and they're mad at you. That's
probably not. There has to be some hint of a desire for reconciliation in the relationship on both sides. It's not one of those, surprisingly, I used to put an oil on and wear it when I wanted my husband to get it, I would wait until he came forward with an apology and then wear it. Okay.
Hi, Vicki. Okay. So the next area of relationships we want to talk about a little bit is communication and oils that can help open those lines of communication. This one is in two categories, expressions. It's also in the Aphrodisiacs category, and that's where we're going to talk about it the most. But expressions is a good one to enhance communication, particularly in a romantic relationship, and it is also hormone balancing. So it's more of a pricey oil. It's one I tend to take the lid off and smell rather than actually using, but I will diffuse a few drops.
I created expressions,
I love expressions
years ago, and I didn't even put it up for sale for 4 or 5 years because the ingredients in it were the most expensive oils. Nobody's going to pay this kind of money for an oil.
The nice thing about it is if you get a sample, you can just smell it. I bought a bottle finally, and I will diffuse it once in a while. A little bit goes a long ways. It's an awesome oil, though.
And so while we're on the subject of expensive oils, let's talk about Cherish.
Yes, there's another expensive
we got
one.
a brand new oil called osmanthus, and it's in both expressions and Cherish now. It wasn't in the original expressions.
Cherish is another one I just take the lid off and smell most of the time.
Absolutely.
Kim Wilson says that she loves our headache blogs, and Vicki says she loves all of our blogs.
Oh, thank you very much. They're hard work.
But we're working on the 5th headache one. We've got the first 4 out. We're going to get the rest
My part of them's done.
That's right. Your part of them's done.
Anyway, back to Cherish. We had this osmanthus, which was expensive, and my husband told me to put it into a blend. I think he was kind of looking at the bottom line of the dollar. So I played with it, and the only thing I could find that it really loved was jasmine, which didn't exactly help the bottom line at all.
Smells good, though.
Cistus, rock rose, was a wonderful way to stabilize those two very exotic blends, and that maybe trimmed 50 cents off the cost.
It helped a little.
Not much. Cherish, some of the things about osmanthus that I want you to understand, it's of equal value to men and women, but the problem is it's awfully flowery for a man to wear.
Yeah.
So that is definitely one you wear as a perfume. Courage,
when you're
strength
going on
of
a date, then you
character,
can both enjoy
clarity of purpose. But the things I really like about the Cherish blend itself is because it seems to bring you back to perspective in the aftermath of a quarrel.
Yeah.
Instead of, all married couples quarrel. Come on, get over it.
But
afterward, when you want to get to the point where your perspective is clear and you can maybe own that the point he made was valid, or maybe he can own your point, that's got to be the best blend for bringing people back together. After any traumatic event, and like I said, a sample bottle will last you. I've had the same sample bottle in my purse for years.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about feeling loved in relationships. And this can apply to parent-child relationships as well as romantic relationships. The number one oil for this is beloved. And beloved is one that really profoundly affects the heart chakra. It opens your spirit and it helps you to recognize that you are loved more than you can possibly understand. And it kind of opens the communication between heaven and you and helps you understand that God loves you, that he has a plan for you. So it's one for healing emotional wounds. And it's one to help have wholeness of heart. It helps with feeling generous. Let's see. It also, if there's something that triggers your emotional outbreaks, beloved is one to help to kind of clear those. And it's one to use on children that are having issues with bedwetting or even young adolescent teenagers. Because it helps clear those triggers, and it's an amazing oil.
It is. And we're not going to talk about Bach flowers really at this moment, but there is a flower essence remedy called Mariposa Lily that has got to be the strongest one I know of for this being able to accept love, being able to feel like you're loved, being able to understand that little things people do for you, even mom getting on your case, is a signal of love.
Deliz, is that how you say your name? Deliz Roper?
Deliz, yeah.
Did I say that right? I'd like to know. Tell me in the comments if I completely slaughtered that.
We'll slaughter it 4 more times till we get it
Vicky
right.
says that's the one I need.
Beloved. Beloved is a tremendous one. I hope that's what she's talking about.
I'm glad we found one.
It's
You don't
cheaper
have
than
to
Cherish.
share it. Tell us which one's it. Yeah, they're awesome. So as far as the Bach flowers that she's talking about in the flower essences, those are cheap and they hit at an emotional level. They are dailies. I hope that's better. Dailies.
Okay.
Dailies. Okay, cool. And the best way to find those out, I mean, you can read all the paperwork and you can make your best guess, but sometimes we don't look at our emotions without rose-colored glasses. And the easiest and best way to do that is to muscle test for you, for your teenager, for whoever is going to be taking it. And they typically come in 6s. So you'll make 1 out of 6 and take that. And
in other words, 6 ingredients in the same bottle.
6 ingredients in the same bottle. The best way to learn to muscle test is on our blog that we have written about kinesiology and muscle testing, and you can teach yourself to muscle test. And testing up a Bach flower for your teenager or for yourself is an amazing tool. I don't know how it's survived this world without it.
I don't know. I have to tell you, back in the early days, long ago, when I was just getting acquainted with muscle testing, wasn't doing it, I had a computer program that helped me pick out Bach flowers for the people I was zoning. And in the old days, you'd visit with him, you'd talk with him, you'd go through the book. It could take an hour, 2 hours to come up with a Bach flower. So I got this wonderful little computer program, and they would sit there and fill out questions for 15, 20 minutes. And there they were. It identified their 6 Bach flowers. And then a neighbor moved in, and she could take my box of, I only had 36 in those days. What do we have? A couple of 100 or more,
Mm-hmm.
at least 200 of them.
There's
105 in the one set alone. And she would just run her hand literally across the box. And then she would pick one out, pick out the next one, and pick out the next one. It was incredible. She'd come up with the same 6 that we had come up both other ways working at it. So, yeah.
But it's a whole lot faster to muscle test. And if it's faster, then you're more likely to do it. And then it's more likely to get taken.
It takes 2 hours to pick a remedy. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a beautiful life skill. It's an important one. The comments have reached the point where if I don't scroll down, I don't see them.
Oh, well, scroll down.
Here we go. It's Bach flower, B-A-U-C-H.
No, B-A-C-H without
B-A-C-H.
Somebody tells me I'm supposed to pronounce it batch, but I just can't. But there's many flower essences. If you go on the Flower Essence Society website, I think it's FES.com, but they have a tremendous amount of information. Butterfly sells a book that we have that has the American and the Bach flower ones in it. It's this one, yeah.
Well, let's show it to them.
Okay.
We have a camera here. Why not?
Might as well.
You can get this on Amazon too.
I often have more copies than they do. Don't lose my page.
I won't lose your page. The Flower Essence Repertoire. I just can never figure out what this camera wants from me. Okay, Flower Essence Repertory, and that is awesome. Especially if you are muscle testing them, I like to go back and read it and make sure I'm not completely crazy, and I'll find insights. If I test up 6 for myself and I read through it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably more true than I wish it was. And then if it's for my teenagers, Well,
you learn a little bit about your
maybe
teenager. You can look at them a little differently.
Yeah.
The book only has the North American ones and the Bach flowers. There's a Sierra Range of Light set. If you go to their site, if you go to their site, there's a lot more information. Incredible. And they have these little pamphlets on each set that they'll send you. I mean, they keep sending me some for free. And I keep making my flowers off each other, so I never buy more than the first set.
They do.
They're very generous-hearted people.
They do. I forgot what I was going to say. But this is about essential oils, so we're going to get back to that topic really quickly. Butterfly Express does sell all of them. They sell them under the heading of Blessed Waters. So there you go. They'll see Blessed Waters, Bach Flower, Blessed Waters, Flower Essence, Blessed Water, whatever, Gem Essence, Sierras, all of those. Okay.
It's when you told me this topic, I just couldn't resist going into a few flower essences because they're so amazing for emotional stuff.
Absolutely. Okay, so we talked about feeling loved, and now we're going to go a little bit into giving love and accepting love. A little bit different. Acknowledge is one for helping us accept love and sympathy, but it's more for one if you are struggling with maybe a loss, and so many people want to talk to you, they want to tell you how sorry they are, and it can be overwhelming in a time when you're already as stressed out and emotionally as you can take. Acknowledge is a great one for helping you let others be of service to you.
Oddly
let
enough,
people help you.
In the homeopathic world, there are two emotions with grief, and one is better for consolation and one is worse for consolation. And man, that's a hard thing to stand when you've lost a loved one, to stand there and take consolation if you're in that other category. That can be difficult. They're trying to help, but it's very hard.
But it's not helpful always. So acknowledge is a great one to diffuse.
Heart Song kind of does that too.
Or to wear in case anyone is. That's what they're going
Always
through.
wear one or the other at every funeral I attend.
Or viewing.
Yep.
Okay. And the other one that fits in this category is trust. And it's because it helps us to leave behind old attitudes of codependency. It helps us to find balance with trusting others, trusting ourselves.
Or not trusting, as the case
and also
may be.
having reasonable caution in a new situation or with an old relationship that you have, you need to, I don't know how to put this. Old relationships, there's a reason that they're no longer a relationship, but sometimes you still have to play in that field, especially like, say, maybe it's an ex-husband and you have children together. You have to, there's some give and take there. You can't just walk away from that relationship 100%.
And being
Trust.
clear as to when you can trust and when you can't can make a big difference.
It's a huge important
Set
life
your
skill.
stuff down.
And trust can really help with that. So it helps you be cautious, but also trusting.
Can I talk about flower essences again for a minute?
Okay. Mhm.
Yellow star tulip, the development of compassion and understanding of the needs for others. And there's pink yarrow.
Yeah.
You can always be the difference between, in my mind, empathy and compassion, the one where you take on other people's pain and the one where you feel it enough to know what they need to help them. It's two totally different things. The flower essence holly, Christ-like compassion. I mean, there's some amazing flower essences for these kinds of relationship issues.
Yeah, and essential oils are wonderful, and Bach flowers are wonderful. But if you get the benefit of both, then you really achieve something.
Chicory, selflessness and expressing love, letting go of that over-possessiveness of a loving relationship. Because sometimes as parents, we do that.
We know we're covering a lot of detail. You can listen to this live over and over again and take notes slower. This is not actually going to be a blog post. I thought about it, but we've got so many blog posts going up with the headache.
You've got me a list so long.
This one's just going to have to be a video, and it will be rewatchable. Sometimes I just put the old blogs on in the background, and I've gotten where I don't even mind listening to myself too much. I really hate when I call Butterfly Express and I hear myself in the background.
I don't mind listening to myself. It's looking at myself that I mind.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not particularly fond
I'm
of
just
looking at
not as young as I think I am.
I just wish I weighed 40 less pounds. Okay, so
40? Oh, for heaven's sakes.
40 from where I started, so it's not really
Okay.
25. Okay, so we all know that person who doesn't want to get into a close relationship.
That's a trust issue, by the way. Back to trust.
It is a trust issue, but there's a
Sometimes,
reluctance or a desire, lack of desire for close relationships. And there's a couple oils that really help with that. The first one is cinnamon bear. And the reason is because it removes that resistance, and it helps us to feel more, I don't know what the word is.
I made cinnamon bear on a special order for a guy, and then that's complicated. But so I ended up taking the sample bottles to a zone conference that I went to, a zone, just a small meeting. And I tell you what, they loved that right off. I got comments back. It is an excellent oil.
It smells awesome, but it brings you to a place of optimism, contentment and happiness. And then, when you reach that place of contentment and happiness, what do you want to do? You want to reach out and you want to share it with other people. And so that is where it turns for that desire for closer relationships. It's an awesome, awesome one. The next one is kind of a strange one. Most of us think of it as a Christmas oil.
But it has the same cinnamon and
That's a
it has
mistake.
cinnamon berry.
It's definitely a mistake. Holiday Spirit is very much an oil for building relationships and bringing perspective into past memories. It is an oil to help you want to be with family and friends, which is a great thing at Christmas time.
And Easter
And all the time.
Whenever your family
Valentine's
assembles.
Day. But so Holiday Spirit it's a great oil, and it smells really Christmassy too, but don't let that turn you off to not using it all year long, because it's awesome.
Yes, it is.
Okay, you want to tell them about Inner Peace?
Inner peace. Some people report to me that benediction just doesn't seem to protect them if they zone or massage or do cranial as well as it should. And we found that inner peace is the answer to that.
Yep.
You're drained because of something going on in your own life.
Yep.
Your own inner, and the inner peace will strengthen what I call the auric field and make you less pervious, make you more. Less or more? What's pervious? Anyway.
The reason for the lack of desire or the reluctance in relationships is that being around other people, it just drains their own energy. And they associate that.
A call to play the organ in church, to sit up there and look down over the audience was absolutely draining. And inner peace was the result of that. So it's kind of a protection. So.
Okay. The next area we're going to talk about is problems and stress. And this is a huge, broad topic.
Oh my.
I had a hard time only picking a few oils, and each one kind of has its own thing that it's particularly good at. So here we go. Problems and stress. The first one is housewarming, and this is a really good one to diffuse. It's a little bit cinnamony. It's a very
right up
warming
there with
oil.
Holiday Spirit and cinnamon bear.
It's not one that you'd want to put in the bathtub or rub on because it has the cinnamon in it. It's definitely one to diffuse. You could get away wearing it as a perfume if you diluted it, or if you're not really sensitive skinned, but it creates an atmosphere of warmth and welcome. So it's a good one to diffuse in an office. People who work on other people, it's a good one to diffuse there too. It stimulates our thinking and encourages us to look for new solutions to problems.
Stress is very, very hard on the immune system.
Yes, it is.
And housewarming has a particular affinity for rebuilding of the immune system, not just protecting it from stress. There's some good oils in there for immune systems.
Which makes it a good one to diffuse in the wintertime when all of our immune systems are being attacked by all the flu and crap that's going around. I really like housewarming. Not only is it helping with relationships and harmony.
Pulled that one out lately. Why not?
Oh, I have. And they actually have that one as a lotion, which is quite interesting, the cinnamon in a lotion, but I really like it, and then it's on my hands. So I really like the housewarming lotion. That's one of my favorite lotions. And
I've tried it.
I actually don't own one. They have it on the front desk at Butterfly. And when I pass by, I just put a little tester on, and I think to myself, I'm not going to get this, but I've never have. I'm going to one of these days. Maybe today. Maybe today's the day. All right. The next one is reconciliation.
Which we talked about already.
We did a little bit, but the reason it's under the problems and stress is because it is an oil to help you return you to home and heritage. It helps you when you're feeling misunderstood or unappreciated. And it's really a good one if you're feeling isolated from home, from heritage, from family.
I find it's helpful for women at my stage of life because sometimes we kind of long for the relationship we had with a daughter or a child when they were, and it's joy in the relationship as it is today.
I think the best word I've ever heard for that is empty nesters. When the nest becomes empty and you look
my
back
nest
over
is
those
full of 28
stressful
employees. I don't know what an empty nest feels
But
like.
it's not the same.
But it's not family. It's not my children. It's not homeschooling. It's not teaching them all the time. It's different. And yeah, this is a blend I like. So.
Yeah, it's a good one for that empty nesting stage. All right, the next oil is reflections. And it's also talked about again in the cooperation and rebuilding section of this live, which we haven't gotten to yet. So we're going to be really short here with it, but it is...
it's a kidney oil, which lets you know it has to do with fear.
Yeah,
Okay.
so a
Fear
cloud of
something or other.
negativity. This is the one I've actually been diffusing for the last few days and wearing myself because cloud of negativity right here.
Well, and it's a negativity that clouds your perception and your ability to see clearly.
Yeah.
And it also should be listed right along with IQ and for clarity of thought
I
processes.
made an interesting connection yesterday, though, after reading through this again. The kidney thing. My baby's 8 months old, and with all of my other children, at 4 months, I had done a kidney stone. She's 8 months old.
What do
and I
you
haven't
know?
done
Hey,
that
I'm
yet.
proud of you.
So I was getting a zone yesterday, and I had the foot zonist specifically look for a kidney stone, and she said, well, there's not a stone, but
there's some gravelly
gravel
stuff building
I thought,
up.
my kidneys are stressed and they're struggling, and I am ornery. There's just no other way to put it. My teenage daughter has joined us, and she could tell you. Mom's grouchy.
Hello, Kendra.
Yes. So the reason that it works so well is because it's a kidney oil, it balances those fluid levels, and those fluid levels affect emotions. We don't realize, but when you start
Dehydrated
retaining
will
water
make
or
you
being
cranky,
dehydrated, both of those affect our emotions. And so the function of the kidneys is very, very important.
One other thing that has to do with kidneys, we say fear all the time when we stay there, but kidneys have a lot to do with resentment. So just for fun, if you have any kind of kidney issues, pay attention for the next 36 hours to any thought that pops into your mind. Anything that, oh, my husband, they always, a resentment of things
Thank you,
past and
Delise,
present.
for sharing that. We appreciate it.
It's an amazing thing to realize how much resentment you're running around with in your little mind that's coloring and drowning your kidneys, literally.
Yeah, and that's another emotion. If you feel like you're literally drowning in your emotions, reflections is a great one to diffuse. It is an awesome. She shared the video, which means
how nice.
her friends will see it, so that's really cool. I like when people share. I don't feel like I've got so much time into these lives and nobody's listening.
And nobody cares.
Yeah, which is just me and my issues, so don't worry.
We just overwork ourselves, and that makes us.
We're going to talk about a couple of singles. Copaiba Balsam. And, hang on, I got to back up here. I usually make the disclaimer at the front. If you don't use butterfly oils and none of these names you recognize, and you're just like, why? I can't listen to this live, so I just can't buy any oils right now. There are crossovers. You can see what doTERRA has.
See what you already have in your
Living
cupboard
has
that works for you.
That's similar to
There's
Reflections.
crossover lists on the website, and we're even willing to help you do it.
Yeah, shoot us a message and say, I've been using Young Living for whatever years, and I have quite a stash, but I really like the sound of housewarming. What do they have that's similar? I will look it up.
I'm not sure, but we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll look it up and we'll shoot it back to you. It's really simple.
I'm thinking, Spice C, surprisingly enough, has some of the same oils, just off the top of my head. But let's do a little closer research on that.
Spice C is still ours, though.
So that would be his.
That's still a butterfly oil.
What is it? No, that's ours too.
Thieves is Young
Thieves,
Living.
there you go.
But I don't know what
I could
doTERRA calls it, but I could look it up. All right, anyway, so a couple of singles. They're just wonderful because it doesn't matter what brand of oils you're using. Copaiba Balsam is a universal out there. I love the smell of Copaiba Balsam. It is probably one of the best smelling
all the
oils.
balsams, but Copaiba is my favorite.
I like Copaiba Balsam. It is one for resilience. It helps you to be stronger emotionally, especially when you're experiencing strain and disharmony in particularly close relationships. But the aroma is, oh my goodness, it just fills the room with feelings of friendship and neighborliness. It is very, very supportive of relationships, and it is a great oil to diffuse.
When you've been a weird herbal person long enough, it's kind of a nice one to smell on your way into the community or into the church. I feel a lot more neighborly that way.
If you're a camper and about this time of year you're getting cabin fever because it's just too cold to go camping, just diffuse some Copaiba Balsam. You'll love it.
Yeah, you'll like it. Better than pine or spruce or any of them. Copaiba Balsam will have
now
that.
Spikenard, which is not one I love the smell of, but one extreme to the other here.
No one likes the smell of spikenard by itself.
No,
come on.
But it is the emotional equivalent of packing up and leaving old ways of thinking behind. So if you consistently react to situations in one way and then you look back and go, oh, I did it again. Spikenard.
So whether you're a butterfly or whoever you are, look up Spikenard and look at what blends it's in and find. I prefer it in a blend. A good blender can leave you with the properties of it without having you smell like a dead mouse in a dirty sock. But, a good blender, you can put it into blends quite well. It doesn't overwhelm a blend, surprisingly, considering how strong the aroma is.
You don't need to diffuse it, and you don't need to wear it. You can just open the bottle and smell it for a minute a few times. It's also a good oil for approaching death.
It's a nervine. If you need your nerves calmed, it's a nervine.
It's courage to seek the release from this life, to move on to the next step. And so if someone that you know is for sure dying and they're struggling with that, they fear dying, Spikenard is a good oil to help them to not be so afraid. So I've seen that one work.
Same family as vetiver, only I like it so much better.
Yep.
No,
Okay.
I'm not thinking, not vetiver. What am I thinking? Valerian. There, I
Valerian,
knew it had a
that's
V. Okay.
Yeah, you're close.
I was close. Yeah.
Okay. The next part of essential oils and relationships that we want to break into is harmony, peace in the relationship.
Oh,
And we
goody.
talked about inner peace a little bit. But as far as harmony goes, it is particularly good at helping us find direction in our life. And if we're just kind of stuck, which is a frustrating place to be, and can't decide, should I go this way? Should I go that way? Do I need to go to college? Do I need to get a job? Can I do both? It kind of helps us to find that direction. And it promotes that harmony between ourselves and others, between ourselves and God. And it helps us to feel genuine compassion for others. And it helps us to form rewarding relationships.
Holly flower essence. No.
Holly flowers. And like we said, it's kind of like benediction as a protector of energies. And so benediction works for almost everybody. But if it doesn't work for you, inner peace will. They're just a little bit different there. So
I like to layer one and then layer the other.
one more
Honest with you.
little interesting thing is if you, how do I put this? I had a cousin in college who absolutely could not be alone. Like, if he was in the same room for 5 minutes by himself, he would go find somebody. Like, and to go to the movie by himself or go do anything by himself, it was almost annoying because I am totally the other way. I don't
Me. Me
need
too.
friends. I want to go see the movie. I'm going to go see the movie. But he wouldn't go anywhere by himself. And his girlfriend left town for a couple of weeks, and I thought he was going to drive me insane. And this is the oil for those people who just do not like to be alone.
And a lot of people are there. When I was back in college years ago, I was engaged to my husband, and so my roommates I found out much later that they were all taking turns not having a date on Friday and Saturday night. My husband was in Florida, my fiance, and I would just get done with what I was doing and put on my coat and walk out the door, go to the movies, go, wherever. I didn't understand that there are some people who don't like being left home alone. That's my biggest
They were
joy.
doing it
Thank you.
for you.
They were the little sweethearts. They were quite peeved that I wasn't properly
And they weren't alone.
Then they were alone. Yes.
Yes.
It took till about February of that year for me to come to the party.
The interesting thing is his girlfriend was very much the same way. She hated to be alone, and the two of them were a perfect fit. They've now been married for, well, they've got teenagers like me, so
a while, huh?
yeah, longer than I have. And so I just wonder how that
My
has
own
developed
mother
through
could
the
never
years.
understand that trait in me, that I would just as soon go shopping alone.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sometimes we go
Ylang.
with each other, but that's just not.
Ylang is the single in this category, and Ylang is a hormonal oil, and one that I liked just fine. But when I was pregnant with my son, it tested up as one of the oils that I should avoid, which I thought was very strange.
Tested nothing. I opened it at a birth, and you sat down
And
on the floor and nearly passed out on me.
Yeah.
You were scarier than the mother having the
And
baby.
I had been avoiding it my entire pregnancy, and but I walked into that situation unawares, and yeah, bad idea. So it's one to watch out for if you are pregnant.
But later pregnancies,
It's
we
not
actually
a
applied
problem.
it across
It's
her
tested
abdomen
up
for
for
a
me.
muscle issue. So I don't know what that was. One pregnancy, it
Well,
was
it was the only pregnancy where I
with
had
a boy. So it
So
might
I
have had some
I don't know
hormonal
if that
connection
has.
there or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was
But
so
it-
dramatic.
But it is one for balancing hormones, and it works on men as well as women. Men have emotions too, or hormones too.
Yes, they do.
So it helps us to develop caring, nurturing, intuitive spiritual side of our natures. And Ylang, when you diffuse it or when you smell it helps things to shift for us. It just helps us be able to block and filter negativity and garbage. It makes it possible for us to focus on our drive and our thoughts. So I love it. I love the smell of it.
I
It was one
liked
of my
being
favorites.
reminded that you diffuse it or dump it on the head of a child that's throwing a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
Or even if you're throwing one of your own. I mean,
I feel
Oh,
like that
yes.
sometimes.
Loss of interest in work. Ylang can be a depression oil and the blends that it's in.
It's a
because-
sudden loss of interest in work, though.
Yeah,
it's
it's not
like
the gradual. It's
you
just
like your job, but this week you just would rather be bed anywhere
yeah,
else.
it's definitely a hormonal oil, but it does link to some forms of depression. So
Yeah, it's also a good oil for low self-esteem,
mm.
anger, and rage. So this one,
And the last
teenagers?
one says Westover, daredevil tendencies.
Yes, yes,
Have no clue where where the line is. Yeah.
yeah. Ylang is a wonderful oil, and It's one I always test for. I'm like, hey, this might be a good situation for ylang, but I always test. And that's just from my past experiences with it. But I've been using this oil for over 20 years, and I've never had it test as a bad thing again.
Except when you were pregnant with Matthew.
Except when I was pregnant with Matthew, who's 16 now. So, yeah, what she said, Dell is. I'm not sure I understand that comment. Oh, what oil do you recommend for somebody who struggles to love themselves? Okay.
Expressions for one.
Expressions
Cherish
is an awesome
would be
one.
my, if you can
Heart
afford
Song
it. Heart Song is an excellent
is an awesome
choice.
one.
Yeah.
But if you muscle testing, if you have a copy of the blue book, this one right here, we'll see if I can figure out the camera thing again. Ha, ha, ha. See, it even has my name on it. This one's mine.
Mine says typos on the front. I'm glad you showed yours.
If you read the
There are
last two
typos in there.
sections just once, just read through it, then you're better able to test for it. And being able to test, because low self-esteem usually has another emotional driver. It's low self-esteem because it's not just low self-esteem. And so being able to hit the underlying issue is going to be a lot more effective. Heart Song is going to be wonderful. It's going to help. Expressions, Cherish. All of those high emotional oils are going to be great. And Bach Flowers.
Crabapple comes to mind just off the top of my head. And,
which is a Bach flower.
Well, and
Or
the
North
reason
American.
it came to the top of my head is because I'm working on a thing on eating disorders. And they are so often driven by low self-esteem. And crabapple is a good one for that. So you're reading messages again?
Is it Elaine? I didn't see a comment from an Elaine, but I may have missed it because I get talking and I don't remember to look at the comment.
And I can't see them from over there without,
So, anyway, Bach flowers are a great thing for low self-esteem. And
flower essences. Bach flowers, the original Bach flowers were 36. The North American ones are 105. There's a Sierra range of light that we also own. I think there's 40 or some out of those. And then you can get Australian ones. You can have a good time.
Yeah.
We have Butterfly has a lot. And I have them all in my personal stash.
I think
too.
if I had a child that was seriously struggling with self-esteem and I didn't already have the background that I do, my starting place would be the book that we showed earlier with the Bach flowers, the flower essence repertory, and I would read the basic descriptions of all 36.
Well, they have
or
what's called a
104.
repertory in the front, and you can just look up self-esteem or low self-esteem, and they'll give you a list with a little description of each one.
And then
they're
the book.
easy to work with. Yeah,
Are you saying ylang? Yeah, we were talking about ylang.
kind
Not,
of. Yeah.
oh, maybe that's the ylang or it's ylang. Ylang.
I don't know how you pronounce it.
No, but it's spelled Ylang.
Ylang. Yes.
And Butterfly Express, they used to have two, and I'm not sure if they have two or just one right now. Sometimes they have the Ylang and they have the Ylang 2.
Ylang Complete.
The Ylang Complete is the one that they always carry, and that's probably my favorite one. I don't think it matters a whole lot, but I like the Ylang Complete. Okay, Ylang. Woohoo! We really, when we're doing singles like that, we really ought to learn to spell them. We'll get better at this. We've only had a couple years practice at this point. All right, we have, she has a dentist appointment, so we can't go way over today. So,
yeah, we can. You just have to run on your own.
Oh, you just get up and walk out and leave.
That's what I'll do, yeah.
Fine.
If I remember.
All right. Well, I'm watching it for you.
This is funner than a dentist appointment, by the way.
Yeah, she's taking my son to the dentist.
He's driving me, so.
He's driving. Okay, so the next one is trust, cooperation, rebuilding. And we've talked about a few of these oils already, a little bit. Reflections, we talked about it in stress problems, and it was the major kidney oil and the oil for fear. So if the trust issues are, if the core problem is fear, reflections is your oil, and it is awesome, awesome. And then trust, we kind of already talked about that a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah, but rebuilding trust after there's been a disaster in a relationship.
Yep.
This is a good thing.
It is for old hurts, frustrations. It is codependency and finding balance between trusting others and trusting yourself.
We haven't talked much about that trusting yourself. And this trust oil, it helps you see the times that you did it right and understand there's a pretty good shot that you're going to make the right choice this time too.
Marianne
or survive
Smith
it if you
says,
don't.
Hold up a sign with the name of the oil on it.
Oh, well, we'll think
That's
about
probably
that
a good
later.
idea too.
Can't today, so good idea, Marianne. Thank you.
Yeah, that brings us to another single, and I think this one we're probably safe with. It's Mandarin, which is made from the oranges. So that one's pretty. I hope we're okay there. But it is a good choice for people who dwell in the past, who tend to sit and stew over their past emotional traumas. The trauma's over. They survived it, but they're not thriving. Mandarin is a great oil to help you get to where you're able to build and repair relationships. And because it's a citrus oil, I love the smell of citrus oil.
She's got a little note here with the children and the elderly, and that before I'd read that, I was just thinking, okay, what I find is that babies that have a traumatic slip into the world, diffusing mandarin helps both mom and baby leave that behind. That failure to thrive, we just don't see that with these stressed babies if we've used any of the citruses, but mandarin and orange are particularly strong in that way. And so we always encourage mothers to use those oils. I believe it's in Heart Song. I'm not sure, but
I think so.
I think
I
I
could
would
look it up.
put it there for that reason.
I can look it up while you talk about synopsis.
Oh my
which,
goodness, okay.
this is probably more information than most of them want, but synopsis is my go-to.
For anything intestinal like cramping and diarrhea.
For me.
Okay.
Emotionally.
It's one I haven't
this
used a
one
lot.
tests up
That
for
is
me
one part of me that works quite
a
well.
lot.
So some possible emotional drivers for synopsis and for anything intestinal are holding on to the past or feeling a deep need to be in control.
Mandarin is in synopsis.
Oh, how about that?
It's in Heart Song too, but it's
also in synopsis.
So that's interesting.
So,
No wonder it came up under both of these. But it is a digestive oil. It's a liver oil. But it is particularly
fear of rejection, fear of not
Yeah.
doing well in a project or a presentation.
I get to talk in church on Sunday. I am so not excited
Go
about this.
bury yourself in synopsis. You need to.
I don't have a problem with teaching these classes. I have taught oil classes to thousands of people at a time, and it does not bother me. I don't know what it is about talking in church.
And see, I
terrifies me.
talked in state conference when I was 10. I don't know. Church talks don't bother me a bit.
I talked
know
in
where you
church
got that
when
from.
I was 12 and went in the bathroom and threw up.
Yep.
And it hasn't really ever gotten any better. So, yeah. Oh, I'm really not. I'll be glad when
It's
Sunday's
not one of those
over.
things Mommy can come do for you.
No, it's not. And the topic is wonderful. They're having me talk about the last state conference, which I actually went to. So I hit every single meeting.
You
And
say that actually like you never go.
I usually go, but I really enjoyed
this one.
So,
Well, good.
all right. So if your digestive issues have a root cause that's emotional, a synopsis will help you see those.
Inside Out's an excellent digestive oil. Synopsis is much stronger for the emotional
If
drivers.
it's an emotional
of
one.
The issue. So.
And some of those emotional drivers might include holding on to the past, feeling a deep need to be in control, which is mine's not holding on to the past. I can't remember the past. I have a short-term memory. That's not my
I
issue.
didn't know that.
But yeah, ask me what happened, who I was fighting with 2 weeks ago. I couldn't tell you.
Couldn't remember.
But I am a control freak. And so this is why this one tests up for me. It's that need to maintain control in all situations. It's a need for
Need
greater
for all the little
trust.
ducks to be in a row and all your kids
Yeah.
to be behaving properly and all your work to be done. And yeah, I can see that. I've never really put the pieces
Never
together.
thought about it that way. It's a need to unravel and untwist complicated situations. And like I said, fear of rejection.
I mean, I'm
So,
more of a go with the flow.
uh-huh.
It can just happen around me. No wonder I've never reached for synopsis.
So interestingly enough, the next next category is need for control. And so synopsis would be a great oil there, but since we just talked about it, we'll just kind of count that good enough. But it does fit into the need for control very well. The other one that fits into this category is a single, and it's Mountain Savory. And Mountain Savory is one of those that is better used in a blend. But interestingly
What blends
enough,
is it in besides letting go?
it's in Candela, which is not an emotional oil. It is in Mellow Plus, which is not an emotional oil.
It's because it's so very, very strong antiseptically.
Yeah.
It's an
Really,
amazing
the
thing.
only
right up there
emotional-
with tea tree.
Oil that it is in is Vision,
Really?
which I
Sure,
thought
I
was
like Vision.
interesting. So Mountain Savory can be used by itself, and it is really interesting because it helps us to cope with hurt and disappointment. It is.
I think we need to go find and get Mountain Savory how to do a couple more
I'm-
blends.
I'm really wondering if it wouldn't fit well in the blend Letting Go, because it is really an oil for
Wow.
letting go and letting God manage the flow of your lives and your relationships. So as far as the smell of Mountain Savory, some people like it, some people don't. It's not
We
particularly
didn't have
a bad
Mountain
one to
Savory when
diffuse.
I created a lot of
It's
those oils.
it's a fairly new one. I think Butterflies had it about 18 months. If I had to guess, that would be my guess.
I'm guessing longer.
So, but Vision contains Mountain Savory, and it is an oil for self-confidence. And the root emotion there, Yeah, you mean you still need to find that root emotion, and you need to find other appropriate oils, but vision is a great place to start while you're looking for those oils.
Surprisingly enough, vision is a cardiovascular vein health oil too. So you're accomplishing a couple of things at the same time here.
Sarah, that I appreciate your comment. That's really cool. My mom can't read it, so I better.
Oh, if I lean over and look
She says
stupid,
that she's
I
been
can't.
using Inside Out, and she loves it. She's going to try Synopsis because I know I need to look at emotional issues. That's a huge thing to be able to admit.
Even
And
just
then you get to where you can
type
admit it
there.
on a live, and you never know who's going to see it. And yeah, I'm not real comfortable with that, as you can probably tell. All right, our last category before we end this wonderful live,
You left out my favorite oil.
because we're a week from Valentine's Day, which I'm not a fan of Valentine's Day. I think it's
Mother's Day that bothers me.
not that one either. But Valentine's Day to me it's commercialized. I like it for the aspect of I get to get up and make pancakes for my children that are heart shaped, and we usually do strawberries and whatever. But you should be working on your relationships all year long, not just on February 14th. And to set that expectation that my husband's going to buy me flowers or chocolates or he's going to take me out to dinner, to me, that is, appreciate the times when he does. And I am not a fan of Valentine's Day, and I have no expectations for Valentine's Day.
One of the worst Valentine's days of my life was I was listening to a radio broadcast. I knew my husband was working close, and they were selling candy. It was the Pink Ladies Hospital sale. And I was in one of my diet phases. So help me, if that man brings home candy, I'm going to thump him over the head. And sure enough, he did, only he brought it just as I was running out the door to a church meeting. And by the time I got home, the kids and him had ate it all. And I couldn't decide whether I was madder because he bought it or madder because they ate it all.
They didn't get any. So yeah,
it was not a good Valentine's Day.
I make Valentine's
but
Day
I made
about
up for
my
it out
kids.
during the week, getting little presents. Yeah.
I tried to make Valentine's Day about my kids, and I seen the coolest thing on Facebook. They said to take and cut out a bunch of paper hearts, and every day put a different heart on your children's wall with one thing that you like about them. And I was going to do it, and I didn't have time, and I felt really bad. Because I think that would have been awesome.
You still have 8 days.
I still have 8 days.
Get on with it.
Oh, maybe I'll do it on Valentine's Day, and I'll just do all 14 of them.
Maybe I'll do it to your father too.
Things like that. It's not that I'm totally against Valentine's Day. I just think that those types of things ought to be done all the time. So my kids are super excited for Valentine's Day this year. We're going to Jump Zone. Yay.
Oh.
So see if we can get home without any broken
Okay.
bones. All right. So our last topic today before we end is going to be aphrodisiacs.
Now, before we start here, I want
Oh.
to tell you something, okay?
Uh-oh.
I've lived longer than most of you out there. And there's one thing I know for sure, that total and complete acceptance of your husband as he is the greatest
Important.
aphrodisiac,
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to be right, and he doesn't have to be perfect. You only have to acknowledge that he's trying. You are first in his life, even on his most selfish day. When I was in college, one of my roommates got married, and her future father-in-law, knowing his son quite well, said, "There's one thing you need to remember. You will always be first in his life. Just sometimes you'll have to get his attention first." He will do whatever you ask if you manage to get it communicated that you're serious. And I thought, that piece of advice was very important to me, and I wish I'd have lived it better younger.
So on that note, which is really interesting, the first aphrodisiac we're going to talk about is moonlight, and that's because it helps you to appreciate and accept your partner for the way that they are. It adds to the delight that you feel, and it's
a very heady oil.
It is.
And letting go has a lot of the same properties and isn't quite as heady. So if you get a sample of moonlight and you don't like it, think letting go. Because I actually prefer letting go. It's
a good one for emotional depth and bonding, and it's a good one to diffuse.
If you like, I'm not a floral oil person for the most part, and moonlight is very heady, very floral, but it has an amazing.
Delise is my new hero. She says she does that every year on their door, so they see him every time they go in their room. See, I should have done this. I totally should have done this. All right, so moonlight is a great one. The other one we already talked about, expressions, because it's such an emotional oil, but it's a great one for enhancing communication and connection, and is definitely considered an aphrodisiac. But it's mentally and emotionally and spiritually balancing. So,
it's like if you feel good about yourself, you will feel good about your spouse. And the direction, if you're growing spiritually and emotionally, then you can see his growth, and it can be a tremendous aphrodisiac.
So those two are very best as Valentine's oils. Butterfly Express.
Not 2, 3. Moonlight, letting go, and expressions.
Okay, there
we can't leave letting go off.
Butterfly Express did put together a couple of really interesting kits this year. They're the Realize kit and the
So I thought there was an oil called Be Mine. I'm a little
There is.
behind on some.
Be Mine is a Valentine's oil that they always put out, and it's a great oil. But the two kits they put together are Time to Realize and Time to, I think it's Restore.
Oh, see, I'm
Anyway,
behind. I'm
There's a
off in my
paper
own
that
little
goes with
office.
those two kits, and if you go look them up on the website, you can click on the more information. You can read the paperwork without ever buying the kits. But they're interesting because they're oils specifically for rebuilding relationships and restoring communication.
Really?
And
Hmm.
they're interesting little kits. And if you're going to give your husband or partner a Valentine's present, or he's going to get you one, that might be a good one to request because it's something that you can use all year long to work on your relationship.
Well, and more relationships than just your.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And there's
I'm
some
gonna
great,
have to go look and see
there's
what
some
you
good
guys
bath
are up
oils
to.
in them. I
What those
think
guys are up to out there.
they even put a bath sponge in them because there are a lot of great bath oils, and I think it even comes with a shave oil. They're interesting little kits. I was quite happy with them.
So
So
I knew nothing about them till now.
happy oiling, and we will see you in 2 weeks if you join us. We hope that you do.